thank you for the opportunity to discuss history and art and cinema and Bhanu Athaiya, of course. So I'm going to just start with a few general questions, and then we'll segue into a little bit more specifics about the costumes, and then we'll just see how it flows. So Bhanu was I'm not sure if people are aware that she was a student at JJ School, and one of the first.
I'm aware of that.
She was also the first member of what's an important group called the Progressive Artists Group.
That I don't know about.
In fact,
because I have no idea about painting or art. I appreciate it definitely, but I don't know anything.
Right,
about
but you had names like Hussain, Souza, Raza, etc. I mean, she actually exhibited with these people in Bombay. Very few people know this. So the question was basically that how do you think art influenced her fashion? Because in a sense, a lot of costume designers would come directly from a different entry point, where she went from being a trained modern artist into her stint at Eve's Weekly, and then costume design starting from 1956. But she was always an artist. I mean, how do you find her costume design to be how does art go into her costume design?
When you look at it, art is the basis. It's a creative process, and it's about colors. So how you utilize those colors and how you create with those colors depends on the individual who's doing it. And Bhanu was such an amazing person. She loved what she did and what her paintings and everything that you were telling me about just now. I don't know anything about that area, but I did know that she was a part of the School of Arts. And whenever we spoke, she told me, she says, well, it's all art, Tanu. Like, I have no idea about art because I don't paint, but I appreciate colors, and I appreciate. So this is what she did. She brought her art and made another creation of the colors that she had within her, that she could visualize.
It's so interesting you mentioned that, because this is something that me and Radhika and a few others, Bridge, have been discussing, that a lot of people forget. As you said, it's her art. She thought of it as art.
Of course. And she thought of it. It was her art. It was her, the artist, who could do whatever she wanted with that creation that she had, which she had conceived for herself. Okay? It was a creative process. Whatever she did, she could see it, she could visualize it. So for a time she visualized modern art, she visualized this, then she said, okay, let me do something different. And that's how she came into doing costumes. That is what from what I knew of her and what we spoke about, that is how she felt about it. At least that's how she spoke to me, and that's how I remember her.
So this kind of leads on to a slightly different question, like how does the costume design process work? Because I would guess that a director would speak to her about the scene or the theme or the actress. Then Bhanu would do her research. Then what was very different about Bhanu, and I'm not sure if you have shared, like if you see in fact the invite we have, these are some of the costume sketches made by her. So these are very elaborate. So the point is that when after her research and in between the actual costume, there was a very detailed artwork that was created, which is very different than what I find on amongst the latest costume design, which seems to be more computer generated or thematic, or just wear blue, green.
No. It's like Bhanu had her own visual. She did all this research, all right, fine. But when it came down, she understood what the character was in the movie. When she spoke to the director told her this is the character. Then she would come and talk to the artist, and the artist would explain what was her idea of the character that she was playing. This is what the interaction that I had with Bhanu was. She would always come to me and say, okay, Tanu, what do you think of this character that you're playing? What would be a good color for you? I don't know. I said, Bhanu, don't ask me about colors. Yeah, I don't know anything. Now you just make the costume, na? And then I'll wear it. She says, how can you do this to me, Tanu? Not like this, okay? How can you do this to me, Tanu? It is frustrating because she never got angry. She never ever felt, she just didn't get angry. She kept her cool all the time. And I used to wonder, kaisa rakhti hai, kaisa rakhti hai?
Neither was she excitable. You couldn't get her agitated.
Not
into a
at all.
frat. You
Not
could never
at
do it.
all. It was really frustrating, actually, quite.
But I mean, what role did a, because now you're in a time where there is like, you have a fashion designer, you have a stylist,
Darling, they
you
are
have
not. They are
so
not
many,
artists.
yeah, but you have so many different creative roles. So
Me, no.
no. But at that point, what was the sort of like, how would you categorize, or how would you, because a costume designer at that point was the sort of shift from a tailoring and a, that kind of someone who was just tailoring outfits to wear, to then you have the transitionary role, which is that of a costume designer, and then obviously you have now so many other, like I said, a stylist and a fashion designer and all these roles. So how important was someone such as Bhanu in sort of shaping the entire film?
It was not about shaping the entire film or anything like that. Each one of us during that time in the industry had our own roles to play. It was not a conglomerate-like thing. We all had personal relationships with each other. Every film, a film wala was a film wala. We were all related to each other. We were family. And then it didn't matter whether you were a costume designer, whether you were an art director, whether you were a doorman or a spot boy. We were all related. Anyone in the film industry had a problem, we would all get together and help that person. Today it's a conglomerate. Today it's a business. At that time it was not a business. So it is like, you can't compare the two at all.
I guess what British was trying to say was that I think Bhanu was, if you look at her earliest film, 1956, I mean, at that point, if you look at the titles in the movies, it basically said dresswala.
Dress man.
Dressman or dressman. So then it changed from dresswala or tailor, let's say, to costume designer. I mean, that change happened around that time.
You know why? Because the dressman was the person who gave us the costumes to wear. That was the dressman. Okay? But the one who made the costumes was always the person who designed the costumes. So they didn't know how to put it at that time. So finally when they figured it out, then they put it like that. But the costume designer was always the costume designer. She was never put in by the dressman. Her title was never the dressman.
No, her title was never the dressman. So, I mean, in a sense, what I'm trying to say is that she kind of led that title change, that it's not just about a tailor, not just about putting on some clothes, but look, there's a scene, there's an ethos of the movie, there's a story, there's
There's a
the
look,
timeline, there's
including
a
the
look.
accessories and everything.
Yeah.
A kind of the whole was put together.
And I think more than the actual star, it's the others, right? The, like, when we think of looks, we think of like the main character or the main actor and actress. We don't think of how important the background and the supporting actors are, and how important those looks are in kind of merging into the general historic narrative or whatever storyline of that particular film. And I guess that is where that research comes in.
Like in Jeene Ki Rah,
Yeah.
she did everybody's costumes.
Yeah.
So the whole look was a certain kind. There were certain shades that certain people wore. The children had different colors, the different age groups had. So it wasn't just a sole costume, or even say Mere Jeevan Sathi, where a Helen was dressed totally different from you. It was a totally different.
No, that I understood.
But whereas in Jeene Ki Rah, it was the whole palette was kind
Yeah.
of set.
Yeah, or
Set, yeah.
nobody even, nobody thought of things like that. You're asking me a question which nobody thought of.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to reply. We just took it for granted that Bhanu's done this, and great, it looks wonderful. We just accepted what she did because she put it together so brilliantly, and she never raised her voice. We didn't have bother to ask her a question about the costume because we all thought it was great. It was wonderful. So when you're asking me a question like this, I don't know how to answer.
But were like directors and like
No.
involved in
No.
the costume?
Please listen to me. That time the industry was different. It was a personal relationship that each and every one in the film industry had with each other. It had nothing to do with what you're asking me
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
You are asking me according to today's world.
Yeah.
I don't know today's world.
Yeah.
And I don't know what put it all together. But the
But it
fact
was your
that
rapport
Bhanu,
with-
yes, it was my rapport with Bhanu. It was her rapport with the director, the producer, and
So you're
everybody.
saying she knew what
She
to do.
knew
basically.
what to do about it. So they never argued with her. They just accepted it. अरे तो जे स्कूल से आई है, इसको मालूम होएगा क्या हो रहा है, कौन से रंग कहाँ लगने चाहिए, ये पता होना चाहिए उसको. तो जे स्कूल से आई है ना, हम लोग कहाँ गए थे उधर. So this was the attitude. You see, so it was not so. What do you say?
Yeah, I guess it's the exception.
Technical.
Yeah,
At the
exactly.
academic.
Yeah,
part.
don't
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
don't look there at all, because the film industry was a different place at that time. It was a family, and we loved each other. It was all about love and respect for whoever did whatever they did. Each and every one was respected. The director was respected. The cameraman was, everyone, even the spot boy. We didn't know what the spot boy was going to be a producer next time, did we? No, but we say God bless you, darling. आप जब प्रोड्यूसर बन जाओगे ना तो मेरे को याद करना. Seriously, ऐसे बोलते थे हम लोग. And you know, I have had this experience myself. There's a Marathi guy who came to me after I think like 15 years, 20 years, and says, Namaskar Tai. Okay, Namaskar. Brought me a little Ganpati, very beautiful, and he says, my name is Mahesh Tilekar. I said, oh great. So what can I do for you? He says, you know, I don't know whether you remember, but I was your spot boy. You tell me now. You tell me, 20 years later this man comes and you're asking me a question like this. So I don't understand how to reply. We never knew at that time that anyone was going to. We just accepted the fact that yes, किसको मालूम, ये स्पॉट बॉय भी तो प्रोड्यूसर बन सकता है. ये जो मेरे साथ काम कर रही है, मेरी आया जो है, वो भी तो एक्ट्रेस बन सकती है. क्यों नहीं? किसने रोका है?
So the same is actually an interesting question. Mumtaz, who obviously started from being not the main role in the movies, and then she became very famous. That's Brahmachari song. So I mean, would you remember the pink sari, or is it Mumtaz?
I just remember Moo. Yeah, I remember
Because that's
Moo,
an
and I
iconic
remember
costume,
no,
right?
I remember the sari also because she was so bright in that sari, and you remember Moo wearing that sari and dancing. So you remember the color.
Yeah.
It's not that you don't remember the color; you just see her as vibrantly pink and dancing.
And I think you had mentioned some points about how to get the silhouette right, Bhanu had to make some adjustments, and getting the exact discussion.
Well, basically, the brahmachari is because she had to dance in such a
Tight
tight-fitting
fit
thing
sari, yeah.
that the wraparound had to
Yeah.
be done in a particular way so that she could bend her knee and stretch it out, even though it was tapered from the hips downwards. So the tapering stopped before the knee, so that she could have that flexibility,
Yeah.
and she could
So
do her
in a-
dance
Yeah, but that
movements.
was, see, that was her. That was her area.
That-
Yeah.
So that area, we never interfered with that area. Whatever Bhanu wanted in that dress was yes, ma'am. It was like yes, ma'am. It was
It
something
was a
that we
faith,
don't. We
it was a
never
faith.
argued with Bhanu, because Bhanu was one person who just didn't allow us to argue. She would just look at us calmly and quietly. Okay, Tanu, it's all right. But wear this color and see afterwards now what it feels like. And no blinking the eyes. Sorry, I'm blinking my eyes too much. But Bhanu never blinked her eyes. It's all right, Tanu. And she had the most beautiful eyes because they were slanted. And I used to be fascinated. Okay, Bhanu, whatever you say. And I said, purple sari shall give me. For Izzat. The film was Izzat. Can't wear. I don't want to wear. I don't like this color. See it on the screen, na? And I saw it on the screen. And afterwards we were watching the film. I said, you're right, Bhanu. See, I told you. I said, you know, never get flustered, never. She's an amazing person.
So actually, we obviously have the entire base of the costumes, and we were not able to exactly find that sari. And I'm guessing because it was put together, it was an assembled.
Which sari?
Yeah.
The
Brahmacharya.
Brahmacharya.
How can you find it? Yeah,
Because it was assembled mostly.
yeah, assembled,
That's
and
right.
then you
most
know
of the
how the
costumes, they
industry
go
is. The
back.
costumes also gone into the costume bag and never seen again. किसी ने क्या किया उसका मालूम नहीं.
No, believe it or not, she Bhanu. In fact, I'm amazed. Bhanu and Radhika combined. There's
Found the sari.
No.
we
No,
have
not the
portions that
sari,
look
but-
similar, but in a sense, I can make out it was part of some outfit.
From
but
her matches her sketch or a
Sketch or
stain
something.
that the
Yeah.
dress has. You know, like
Okay.
Mumtaz ka ek orange dress tha with black lacing. So that was, kind of matching. So but normally the costumes anyway are in a bad condition after the shooting.
You're telling me they
So-
just shove them into a trunk
So
and
they
forget
just-
about it. Yeah,
no,
nobody
my
wanted-
point was that we have found portions of costumes in the sense that a sari is not the entire sari is probably draped in a certain way. Sections have been created, and it's it may look cohesive or holistic at the camera, but it may not be one piece of clothing.
Yeah.
And that is something very different. Speaking of which, I mean, Bhanu did a lot of period movies as well. I mean, obviously Gandhi, Lagan, and she did a lot of glamour as well. But there seems to be a thought that Bollywood seems to, and maybe this is not a question about Bollywood or maybe Indian movies in general, seems to have slightly abandoned the authenticity of period costume and gone slightly more towards glamour, because even the period movies these days that come out, some of them
But the industry has changed.
Yeah.
The whole industry has changed. It's become more. It's computerized.
Yeah.
And when you computerize something, there is bound to be that little bit of अच्छा ये कुछ ठीक नहीं लग रहा है. क्यों? अरे पहले ये यार ये कंप्यूटर में डाला था ना. अच्छा ठीक है. So this is what the personal touch from the film industry has gone. Today it is a business, and I don't blame them. Everything. So art also has become a business.
Of course.
There are no artists today that I know of. At least I haven't seen any. I would love to see them, but there's nobody like whoever painted freely. Just painted. Because they
those
felt
that
like
that
painting.
ended in the
Yeah.
60s, let's say.
I don't know whether where it ended or when it
But
ended.
that's when you have your literary grades and you have your.
It's like it's become
I guess you're being
everything
bored.
has become so computerized,
Right, so like
mechanical.
No,
Everybody doesn't even talk to each other on the. Oh, I hate talking on the phone. No, Nani, we'll FaceTime you. I said, no, I don't want to FaceTime. I said, you come to my house, you're just in Jew, you come here to my house, and if you bring your phone inside, you can go back home. So my grandchildren come to my house without the phones. They come to
That's
meet
a good
me.
rule, actually.
That is very important. It's very because it's very important to know that we are human beings. We don't have to communicate through a camera.
But I think
We
also.
can do it
Yeah.
on a one-to-one.
What you mentioned, a lot of the art that came out of Bengal, for example, 1920s, 30s, they were all.
Maybe I wasn't born then.
Point is that they were doing art for art's sake. There was
Yeah.
no commercial
Commercial
basis to
angle to
that. That kind of the commercial market came in the 80s or so. I mean, in India.
Oh, I was gone out of the film industry.
But that's
And
also
Bengal
because
film industry. I was not in.
They
the
were using art as a way of expressionism. So you're talking about moving from
Then
expressionism to
60s,
commercialization.
70s. up to the
70s.
70s.
I'm not sure we mentioned JJ School, but she was also the winner, probably the first woman to win a gold medal at JJ School.
That I didn't know.
And we only know that because she found the gold medal in a trunk.
It's at JJ school.
No,
You don't
clearly
question
JJ School, Usha Deshmukh. And I call up JJ School, like, can you give me records from that date? Obviously, there's no records, So you mentioned history and historical
Exactly.
keeping. Haven't been that good at it.
Exactly. But what are you talking about nowadays? We talk about Bhanu's past and all. I'm telling you, what about the Vedas? We have forgotten our entire history of this country. It's become his story. It's not her story anymore.
It's his story.
It is his story. ये मातृभूमि है.
I mean, I guess more or less just how was your experience interacting with her on a working as well as a personal basis, as well as like when we say Bhanu Athaiya, what is that one costume or that one look that comes to your
No, there's not one look.
mind?
No, darling, there's no one look. It's just Bhanu doing my costumes, which I was very happy with because the colors coordinated. I loved the colors that she used. Even one that I hated, and then she made me see it on the screen. And I said, so it was like Bhanu and I had a personal relationship in the sense that we were more friends than an actor. And
you were both from,
you know,
she was from Kolhapur, of course. You were
But-
from.
yeah, we spoke Marathi.
A Maharashtrian background as well as, you know, having a creative
introductory early life.
early life where you're exposed to art, culture, creativity from a young age. I guess those are just some of the sort of commonalities, right?
No. We just spoke Marathi. That's all. We didn't go into all that. Sorry. I'm very sorry. That
naturally.
Bhanu and no, darling. Please don't put anything into it that is not there.
Okay, fine.
You know what? Bhanu and I had a terrific relationship because we just got along with each other. We were friends. She understood my sense of humor. She understood. She would laugh like this, like this with me. When I was laughing, and that was enough for me. Because it was like, wow, she laughed. And more than anything, we were friends. Friends who understood each other, who never asked questions. What are you doing? Nothing. No saying, what are you doing? Where are you? What is happening with you? No. You need me? I'm there. It was always like this. So it's like more than a professional relationship, it was more a personal one. Yeah, he was a dear friend of mine.
One of my biggest regrets is I actually never was able to personally meet her ever.
Oh,
Because since I've known Radhika, when she was already Bhanu was in a bedridden stage.
yeah.
And frankly, the only day I met her was in the cremation,
Oh, really?
in a sense. Yeah.
I was there alone when he came.
Oh,
So,
It was during the pandemic.
yeah.
any other thoughts on how many? I mean, when we say costume designers, were they besides Bhanu? I mean, from that period, does any other name come to mind? And then,
Yeah, there was Mani Rabadi.
Mani Rabadi.
She was the only other one that I remember. Mani and Bhanu.
Did she do costumes for you in Jewel Thief?
Who?
Bhanu?
No. I don't think so. As far as I remember, no. And it was not Mani either. I don't know who it was.
I think Mani Rabadi.
Mani is Shami's sister, no?
Yeah.
The actress,
Yeah,
was Shami's
Shami's
sister.
sister.
That's how I knew Mani.
Yeah.
Not because I don't think Mani did any costumes, so can't relate that far.
and after Gandhi, I know you said obviously you were elated, but I mean, did anything like change regarding vis-a-vis her position in the industry, or
No, her position in the industry was always right up there. And she was there. And there was nobody to touch her when costume designing was concerned. All of them were aane wale, jaane wale, everybody did their own thing. So, Bhanu was always there, right on top.
So there's one book that's published in Bhanu already, and there was supposed to have been a second book with her costume sketches. Unfortunately, that never happened. So hopefully we actually, are able to bring those out. There's more than 1,000 costume sketches, including.
Oh,
us.
I'm sure.
It will be a visual delight. I mean,
Really exciting to see.
so the point of the exhibition is that this is the first of the exposure into such an important artist and personality, and hopefully we'll build up over a few exhibitions, and then finally we'll culminate with a huge exhibition in Bombay, because this was her hometown, and
That'll be great. That'll be
which has
wonderful.
a lot of parts of lot more parts. Like we found that she made her own jewelry as well. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there's like bags of beads
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
designs.
Yeah, that was normal. I mean, that was her thing. Where costumes are concerned, even the jewelry was hers.
That's
No,
right.
it was not somebody else who brought the jewelry. Like
Because
today's
that's
time,
how-
na,
that's what-
today's the jeweler comes in, and then the comes in, and the comes in. No, when you gave Bhanu the thing to do, that means everything was hers. What color bangles are you wearing? Everything
The
was
shoes, the
everything.
bags.
The
The
shoes,
shoes,
the bags,
the
everything.
hats and the
sketches
shoes.
of hairdos,
Yeah,
and
hairdos,
buns,
everything,
everything
everything.
is there. I mean,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of aspects of what we are touching in this current exhibition is a limited beginning exposure,
It's like a taste of every aspect,
Yeah.
I guess.
and then it'll only expand from there. So
I think the last film she did for you was Prem Rogue,
Yeah.
which after that she got, that was the year Gandhi released. So after that she got the Oscar. It wasn't so.
After Preview.
Yeah, after, because
Prem Rogue I think was
82.
Yeah, 82. Yeah, 82.
So it was.
one question I never understood. I mean, you had said that she had returned the Oscar. I never understood the.
Because she found that nobody would be able to keep it properly.
But a lot of celebrities at that time were returning the
Yes,
Oscars.
they were.
Because I think there had been like these 2-3 burglary instances,
There was
and then there was
Rabindranath's Nobel got
Yeah,
stolen
that-
from
yeah,
Shantiniketan.
there
That shook her because she was just, she said, if somebody can't preserve something like this and protect it, and it gets stolen and then goes to a kabadi, I don't want to keep it here. And anyway, it wasn't going to. I mean, nobody in the government was keeping a museum
it.
or keeping her things.
But she returned a lot of archival information, if I'm not wrong, when I
To
read
the,
it was
academy.
to the
To
academy.
the academy
Besides,
of Gandhi related, nothing else.
yeah, of course, Gandhi
Very
related.
limited. Not her. No, she didn't. She just did a few
Sketches, yeah.
which she gave because she had not done a single sketch before that.
Right.
It was only when the nomination came up that they
Yes.
wanted a few sketches.
Sketches.
So Richard asked her to do a few sketches, and she did them to augment the nomination process. Otherwise, she didn't do because she said it's history. Why do I need to do a
Yeah, why
sketch?
did she need to
sketch,
do it?
yeah.
Unnecessary.
And
Yeah.
you know how her head worked. I mean, it was all like one big canvas in her head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was one big canvas. All the colors of the rainbow.
Any closing comments? Any nuances on any for costumes or anything that kind of.
any movie that you saw that you liked, some particular costume or anything that.
Whatever she did was brilliant. It was wonderful, and I remember her personally. I may not remember her costumes, but I do remember her personally as a person, and she was a lovely human being. And a dear, dear friend of mine. So yeah.
Well, thank you. And one of our goals is to bring out her, art, get it the exposure that
Which you're doing.
which we are trying to do. And
Yeah, that's wonderful.
One of the questions we had in while coming here was, if you look at all these other art, like Hussein, I mean, he may have done artworks from various different periods, but you look at an artwork and you can kind of say, okay, that's Hussein because his hand is there. Similarly, I think once a lot of you don't think so. But similarly, what I'm trying to say is that once
Look
we
intelligent.
once we identify.
Okay, stop. Let me tell you something. I don't know anything about art. Okay?
No, what I'm trying to
I
say.
have no idea about art.
You didn't let me finish.
No.
You didn't let me
I
finish.
don't want to talk about Hussein also.
No.
I didn't understand Hussein.
What?
You didn't let me finish. But
He's
I'm trying to get
lead up
to.
to another question.
No, I was trying to lead up to say that once all of these art sketches and costumes come in front of people, we'll be able to identify what's called a Bhanu genre or a Bhanu
Absolutely.
style,
Absolutely.
which is not there right now because a lot of these things haven't been exposed or displayed.
Yeah. So when you do this, when you have this exhibition, and when you expose it, yes, you will be absolutely certain that this is Bhanu.
Right.
Nobody else could do something like
Exactly.
this.
That's-
There is nobody here in this country, at least so far, unless the new one comes up. So yeah, and don't ask me about Hussein.
No, that is a limited
I
point.
just tell you. So I have to tell you that Hussein was the one who painted my baby furniture.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, he did my nursery furniture. So we
Nice.
knew Hussein as the carpenter.
I hope you still have it
As the
left.
carpenter.
What are you mad? Long time back. He gave it away. He threw it away. Hussein used to come to me. He was a part of my mother's guy who did her interiors and whatnot. So Hussein बहुत अच्छा painting करता है, उसको बुला लो. He used to come and paint the baby furniture. So we were friends, Hussein and I. Till the end, man. One day he got caught in the airport somewhere without his chappal. देख तनु ये लोग मेरे को नहीं जाने दे रहे. I said क्या कर रहे हैं? I said went to the I said जाने दो, ये हुसैन है. ओह हुसैन है क्या? सर हाँ ये हुसैन है. little things that you can do for some people. I mean,
No, but
Maybe
life was
that's
very
what's missing,
simple
actually,
earlier.
you know.
Life was
Yeah, it's very
simple.
simple.
Radhika,
Yes, it was
No,
simple.
but Radhika, we've spoken about this. Bhanu and Radhika as well. Their personality is such that you mentioned your mom would say, "I'm going to do my work and I'm not going to go and do anything else. Like I won't give a, be in front of the press, or I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to do my work and go home." In a sense,
Because my
very
mother was like that.
Yeah,
she
she was.
didn't
Very
believe,
simple
she said, "My work will speak
personalities,
for
you know,
us."
I mean,
That was very
Absolutely,
simple and
absolutely.
straightforward.
Absolutely.
very behind the scenes. And as you mentioned, like when you got the dress, it was from Bhanu. You didn't know you didn't get all the research, So, but again,
How could I? I didn't know
could
any ABCD of it.
No, but you had that faith, that trust in
Of
her, that
course.
whatever she gave you, you would,
Yeah, because I'm not an artist, no.
No, but you were happy with it at the end.
Yeah,
of it.
of course.
That is,
no, and if somebody won an Oscar and gave, you probably would have given 40 interviews and this and that. And Bhanu, I mean, like,
Yeah, but I think it was a
Just
different
by
time. Like,
herself,
it was
I mean, you
things
know.
a different
The time
time.
was different.
No,
It
and she was a
different.
different person.
different person,
She
very
was a
different
very
personality.
backroom person. She was not. She never projected herself. She was never up in front. She said that it's my work that speaks for me, and that is it.
Speaking of which, we also have in the exhibition the sewing machine that she actually used and inherited from her
Which was
mother.
my grandmother's.
Grandmother.
Oh,
Which my
really?
grandfather had bought for my grandmother. He wanted her to learn, and she was very good at embroidery. And
Yeah.
she, in her time, won a gold medal for embroidery.
Wow, how cool is that?
It was a very creative family.
Yeah,
And her father was a
amazing.
painter and a carpenter. He made the most brilliant chair cum ladder. I
Oh, yeah.
marvel at that.
Yeah, wow.
So,
Amazing, na?
So hands-on as well. I mean, again, those are the different times, right? Today,
Of course.
And
Today,
that
you know
exposure
how.
adds to it. That exposure.
Apart from that, I don't know how many people, how many parents encourage their children to work with their hands, not just your head, and not on the computer only. Now it's graphic designing.
actually, I have a slightly reverse view on that. My son's handwriting is so poor. I can't wait till he starts using only the computer. Because
Then you should become a doctor.
I think, yeah.
perfect.
But ask him first what he wants to
What's
do.
the word?
That's very
He's
important.
busy dismantling computers and cameras. So maybe he'll be going to engineering.
I think so.
Just ask him what he wants to do first. It's like my brother used to dismantle the cars and his bicycle, everything. Did he become a mechanic? No.
He went
He went to advertising. You know, it's like,
Is he advertising about cars, maybe?
no, he was advertising. He's in advertising. Was. Now he's doing his own thing. He's on a holiday.
All right. Well, thank you very much for
Thank you.
taking time out, and that was a superb discussion. And we certainly hope to see you at one of the exhibitions
In
Bombay.
Bombay.
Yeah, Bombay.
We don't know when that'll be because that'll.
Whenever.
Yeah. So we want to have a few before we. There's a lot, 6 decades of her work, including art, fashion, theatre, jewelry. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of exhibitions that are planned, and then ultimately it all culminate in one large exhibition somewhere in Bombay. So
Yeah,
that'll be the-
that'll be great.
Thank
That'll
you.
be amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No, you took out so much time. Thank you.
No,
Because of
time
her
belongs to me,
relationship
you know
with
that,
you,
huh?